Right, so our next amazing Python module is going to be our time module. So let's go ahead and first thing first, import time into our shell. Okay, so let's now talk what time is, how it works. So there's a function, okay, and the first function I want to talk about is called time.time. So just go ahead and type in time.time and then two brackets. So it returns me 143587446 point something. And all this is it's showing me the number of seconds that have passed since January 1st, 1970 at, what would you say, 0 a.m. So as soon as the new year started on 1970, that's the number of seconds have passed since then, okay? So you're probably wondering, well, what do we do with this information? I mean, time not time, yay, that's fantastic, but how does that help me, okay? So think about it like this. Let's say I had a number, or I'm sorry, not a number, a program, and I wanted to find out how long this program is taking me. Well, what we can do is, for suppose, let's say a function, we can first get the time value right now, let the program run, and then get the time value after the program has completely ran. So the code for that would be somewhat in a function. So I guess that might have been a bit confusing, but just stick with me here. So I'm going to call this function numbers, okay? And it takes in one value, which is how many numbers do you want to write. So the first thing we do is we set the time. What is the current time right now? So I'm going to call this time1 is equal to time.time. Then what we're doing is we're just going to print out a for loop which runs through all the numbers from 0 to max. So for I in range 0 to max, print I. And then as soon as that's done, I want to know what time 2 is. Alright, so think about it like this. Let's say we ran this function. What would happen? Time 1 would get maybe 1,400,3857, or let's say this was at 0, okay? Time 1 would get 0, then after this whole program ran, maybe time 2 will get 15, okay? So then we can get the actual time by subtracting time 2 minus time 1. So print out string of time 2 minus time 1, okay? That looks good. Let's go ahead and call numbers and take a look at what happens. So I want to print out the first 100 numbers. What happens? Alright, it's running. Ta-da! So based on my data, it says that it's taken 3.4 seconds to run this entire program. Now let's go ahead and try this out with maybe 300 numbers. Numbers 300. Alright, so let it run. This might take some time, so we will wait. Alright, almost there. Cool. So as you can see, it's now taken 10 seconds. So this is a very nifty function that you can check to see how long is your program taking. The basic concept is you know what the time is right now. And you know that in 10 seconds or in 20 seconds, the time will be 20 seconds more than the time is right now. So what you can do is get the time right now, let the program run, and then get the time after the program is run. So by doing that and subtracting the new one from the old one, you can get how long the program is run. Awesome. So this is our first function in our time module. Now the second function that we want to talk about is called the askTime function. So the function askTime takes a date as a tuple and converts it into something more readable. Okay? So let's go ahead and take a look at what it does. If I call time.askTime, okay, what happens? You get Thursday, July 2nd, 15/5/4/2015. Pretty neat, right? So using this function, what you can do is you can create your own dates, or you can get what's the current date right now. Okay. Now you can also call this time.askTime with a parameter. Suppose you want to get this format of a date, right? The way you can do that is by passing a tuple through askTime, okay? And the tuple that we need to create will be on the basis of year, month, day, hours, minutes, seconds, day of the week, and day of the, there's one more parameter actually, day of the year, I believe. and then daylight savings time as well. So it's a bit complicated, but let's go ahead and take a look at it. So time.asTime, all it does is it gives us the current date. Now let's say you wanted this format, but with different values, okay? So that's what I'm trying to show you over here. So create a tuple, let's call it top, and go ahead and enter the following values. So the first three is the basic ones, year, month, and day. So the current year is 2015. Let's say we're talking about April, so that's month 4, and the day, let's do 5th. Actually, no, let's do my birthday. So 2010-15, okay? Then it's gonna ask you hours, minutes, seconds. So I'm not sure what were the hours, minutes, seconds I was born, but let's go ahead and give it a try at least. So let's say 8 minutes, maybe 45 minutes and 12 seconds. Now day of the week. So basically how you write the day of the week is by numbers. 0 is Monday, 1 is Tuesday, 2 is Wednesday, and so on. I believe I was born on a Sunday, so that would be 6 for me, okay? Then it asks for day of the year, so just put 0 as a placeholder. Nothing much to that. And then last but not least, it checks to see is there daylight savings time or not. So 0 if it isn't, 1 if it is. I believe there was no daylight savings time when I was born. So let's go ahead and do this. Now all we have to do is call our tuple using the askTime function. So time.askTime top, and you get Sunday, October 15th, 8:45:12, 2000. So this is pretty neat, okay? The askTime function basically does two things. Either it returns you the current date right now, or you can get the date and the time by passing in some few numbers, okay? Again, very neat function. If ever you want the date printed out like this on the console or somewhere, you can always use this time.askTime function. Awesome. So let's go ahead and talk about one last function. Now, this function is called the local time function, and it returns the current date and time as an object. And the value is in roughly the same order as askTime. However, if you print it, you'll get it class-wise, month-wise, stuff like that. So take a look at this. I'm going to go ahead and call this function time.localTime, okay? And it gives me time.struct_time, TM year 2015, TM month 7, TM day 2, hour 15, minute 8, seconds 19, and so on, all right? And this is probably a little bit confusing to you. I mean, how do we access these values? How does it work? Well, what we can do is go ahead and set time.localTime to a new variable. I'm going to say time.localTime is equal to t, okay? And now what we can do is we can now set variables of this, okay? So again, a little bit confusing, I agree, but stick with me here. Let's say I wanted to get the year of today. The way I can do that is by saying year is equal to t0, okay? Let's say I wanted the day. So right now, as you can see, our first value is 2015, then the month, then the day. So go ahead and do day is equal to t2, and month is equal to t1, all right? So year, day, month, or actually year, month, day. Now what we can do is if you go ahead and print out year, day, and month, you can now access those values. For example, if you were creating a Python application where you wanted the date to be displayed up top, instead of doing this whole Sun, October 15th, 8:45:12, 2000, if you just wanted to get their date, right, what you can do is you can call the time.localTime function, get the year, day, month values, and then do whatever you want. You can just show the year, just show the day, show everything. You can maybe show it properly like this. You can say print. How does it work? It's what? Day, month, year, I guess. I believe, I'm not sure. So day plus the slash plus the month plus the slash, right? How normal people write the date. So using the slashes and stuff plus day, month, and year. So if you hit enter, it gives me an error, unsupported operand type, so I have to convert that to string. My bad. Let me go ahead and do that. So str, this whole thing. Nope, unsupported operand type, so I have to do it individually. My bad, guys. So over here, remove this, remove that, convert str day, str month, and str year. And by doing so, what you'll notice is we'll now get our date in that normal function or that normal way that everyone writes, 2/7/2015. So there's many different ways to get the date, to get the time of the user. If you want to display it using your own special way, you're going to use the time, the local time, access the values in it, and then display the date however you want. If you want it in the normal Python way, which is this sort of way, just call the time the last time, and that'll return you the current date of the user today. Then we also talked about the time way up over here, which basically returns you the number of seconds since 1970 January 1st. Awesome. So we've talked a lot about the time module, and I think that's enough for, a long time. But before we go, there's, I think, one last function you should probably know. You're probably bored of time by now, but one last thing, and that's called the sleep function. So let's say I gave you, so for I in range 0,5, 0,5, I wanted you to print I. However, you didn't want the numbers to come so fast. Right now, zup, 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 zup. I mean, you can't really understand what's happening. What if you slowly wanted each number to come? This is where the time.sleep function comes. And all sleep does is it pauses the program you're running for how many seconds you want. Let's say I wanted it every second. So 0, 1, 2. You can see how it slowed down the program and made it easier for us to understand. So again, time.sleep is a very, very interesting function. And when we get onto animations and more graphical interface objects, this is where the time.sleep comes really handy. Awesome. So I'm now done with the time module. If you have any questions on how things work, why is it 1970? I'm actually not sure about that. But if you have any questions, definitely get back to me on the forums, and I'll see you in the next lecture. Alright, so for our last main module, we're going to talk about the turtle module. And this is going to be the introduction to GUI, or I'm not sure how you're going to pronounce it, but GUI, so Graphical User Interface. So mainly all our GUI is going to be happening with the Tkinter module, okay? And I have a whole section for that, which is probably the next section. But before we get to the Tkinter, there's another basic module that I just want to explore and give you guys a chance to maybe get the hang of how things work. So this module is called the Turtle module, and it's fantastic for small sketches, small drawings, creating very basic shapes and animation, okay? And the way this works is, well, first thing first, import turtle onto your shell, okay? Import turtle. Now, to draw simple, shapes with the turtle module, you first have to initialize a pen, okay? So to initialize a pen, you use the command t.turtle, t is equal to turtle.pen, okay? Note the capital P. And as soon as you do that, you now notice on your bottom right screen, you can't see that because I'm only recording part of my screen, but this Python launcher has now appeared. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to minimize this, and for most of you this should have worked. You're now going to see the small black arrow on your screen. Pretty neat, right? And what you can do now is you can make that black thing move. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to minimize my screen over here, and I'm going to bring this up over here so that it doesn't become too cluttered for you. And one sec. So I'm sorry about that. Let me just do this. Alright, so the way we can make this turtle pen move is via some simple commands. The commands are forward, left, right, forward, whatever you want, but think of it like this. So I'm sure you must have used degrees, or maybe in 8th, 9th grade in geometry you learned about degrees, right? So you know what a 90-degree angle is, you know what a 180-degree angle is, you know what a 30-degree angle is, and so on. So that we're going to be using angles or degrees to make this object move. So the first command you might want to write is t.forward, let's say 50, okay? What does that do? Immediately you can see on the right hand side of your screen, this arrow or this object has now moved 50 pixels, I believe, to the right or to forward. So let's say we want to move it up. Let's try to make a square here. So we want to now turn him to the left, make him go up. So what is up here? Up is 90 degrees to the left. So we write that command, t.left 90, okay? And as you can see, now our pointer or our object is now moving upwards. So t.forward 50 again. We now have half our square done. Let's go ahead and do t.left 90 again. And now it's turned again, t.forward 50. And to finish it off, t.left, whoops, 90. And then t.forward 50. So this is a very simple and easy square to make in our turtle module. So again, very interesting. The whole concept of the turtle module is you initialize the pen, and then using commands like t.forward, t.left, t.right, you can create some very, very simple shapes, right? Awesome. So the next thing I want to talk about is reset. So let's go ahead and quickly cover how to reset the screen. Awesome, fantastic. So we've now created a very simple square, I guess you'd say, in our turtle module. We've learned how to initialize turtle, how to create the pen, how to move our object, make it turn and such. And in the next few lectures, we'll be covering more and more functions that deal with this turtle module. Right, so in the last lecture we left off where we had learned the basics of the turtle module at least. We created a very simple square. Now let's say I told you, hey, I want you to create an octagon. So let's go ahead and take a look at how that would work. I'm going to go ahead and import turtle. T is equal to turtle.pen. Oh my god. Turtle.pen. And then once we do that, our rocket launcher icon appears, and I'm going to go ahead and minimize this. This has come. Let me go ahead and make it suitable for your screen. So this goes over here, and we get this. Cool. So let's say I wanted to create an octagon. Alright, so you're probably thinking about, hey, what's the angle going to be? And the angle for that's going to be 45. 45 into 8 is 360. Now, what are we doing? Well, the basic concept would be, again, do that 50, then left 45, 50, left 45, 50, left 45, 50, left 45, 8 times. Think about it. 16 lines of code. Wouldn't it be easier if there could be some other way where we could repeat those 2 lines of code over and over again? If you thought loops, guess what? You're becoming a Python programmer. So loops is our answer to most of the turtle graphics, or any of the turtle graphics in this whole section. So what we can do is for I in range 0, 4, or since it's an octagon 0, 8. What do we want? Well, it's going to be those 2 commands over and over again. So t.forward 50, t.left 45, right? So t.forward 50, t.left 45. What happens? Ta-da! We have now created a very cool stop sign, or a very cool octagon, whatever you want to call it. So this is where for loops can greatly help us out. They can reduce the amount of time we spend and the amount of code that we write. So let's say you wanted to create a star of some sort, right? What we can do is to create maybe a spiraling star or any sort of star. T.reset, first of all. T.reset basically removes any lines that were there before and sets it back to the beginning. For I in range, let's say 1, 40 or 38. We want t.forward 100 and t.left 175. And by doing so, if you notice, we'll now create a very intricate star. So you can definitely play around with the turtle module using for loops. Again, switch some angles out, move some angles in, increase the size, decrease the size, do whatever you want. But you'll notice there's a lot of capabilities that you can use with the turtle module. So we've just now created a very spiky looking star. I think that looks amazing. And you can just go ahead and play it around. So let's do one more right now, just for the fun of it. T.reset, and for I in range, let's say 1, 20. Okay, t.forward 100 and t.left, let's say 95, I guess. So by doing so, now what happens? Look, you get this, again, a very spirally intricate looking star. So what I highly suggest is play around with this Tkinter module, play around with for loops, change some of the values that we've used and show me your intricate figures that you create. Because at the end of the day, again, this whole turtle module is just to have fun, create new and cool designs. Now, once we're done with this for loops and stuff, but what's next? So let's say you wanted to make two objects, right? We created a circle, and I wanted to create another circle over here. Or not even a circle actually, but let's say two squares, right? So how do I make it so that I create one square over here, and then maybe the other square 100 pixels to the right? Right now, if I try to do that, it'll create a line between one square to the other square, which I don't want. So in the next lecture, what I'll show you is some different functions which will enable us to create some separate objects. Alright, so in the last lecture we left off where we learned how we can use for loops in our turtle module. So the next thing we want to talk about, or I want to talk about, is called lifting up our pen, okay? So the way this works is it uses the function called begin fill, end fill, up and down. Okay, so begin fill and end fill are actually a separate entity. We'll talk about that in the next lecture. This lecture, I just want to talk about the concept of up and down. Okay, so we have this fantastic looking star, and let's say I want to create one more star right underneath it. So I'll say t.right 90, and I'll get it now downwards. I'll say something along the lines of t.forward 100. And then I'll go ahead and create my star. So I'll copy this function again, it'll run, and I'll get this cool looking star. Except the problem is right now, both these stars are connected. You have this ugly looking line. How do I remove this line from sight? Well, this is where the t.up and t.down function comes in. So I'm going to go ahead and reset this. Okay, I'm now going to say or actually right over here, you know what, let's just do t.left 180. So I'm going to move back a bit. Alright, t.forward, let's say, let's do 100. Okay, and then let's go ahead and turn back the exact same way. t.right 180. Again, you just don't do this. I'm just creating some space on the right hand side. And now I'm going to go ahead and call this function again. So I call this function. Nothing really happens, but we now get this star a little more to the left. So after this is run, we now have this awesome looking star. And now what we can call is the t.up function. And all this t.up does is now if I call a function like t.forward 100, guess what happens? Our cursor moves, or our pointer moves, however, no line is drawn. So I'm going to go ahead and move this 40 pixels more, I guess. So get it out in the open. And now let's go ahead and run this star again. So I run this, and what happens? Ha ha ha, nothing happens. Why? Because I never put the pen down. So now that our pen is in the right position, go ahead, put the t.down function. So now it's going to write, and then call this function one last time to get our second amazing square, or star, whatever you want to call it. Alright, so to create, awesome. So we've now created two cool looking stars, and we've made them separate from each other by learning the t.up and t.down functions. Now the next thing, or the last thing we're going to talk about, is filling up these colors, or filling up an object. For example, if I create a circle, right, and I want to give that circle some color, how does that work? Well, what I can do is, there's a function called begin fill and end fill. And we'll get to those in the next lecture, but I just want to give you a brief introduction that you can use those functions to add color to your objects. If you create a square and you want to give that square a blue color, you can use those begin fill and end fill colors to color up your objects. So we'll talk about those in the next lecture, and I'll see you then. Alright, so we're now going to talk about coloring of our objects, okay? So the whole concept of color begins with the t.color function, and then we'll move on to the begin fill and end fill. So the way this is going to work is, let's go ahead and import turtle. Let's go ahead and get our module there. So t is equal to, oh my god, t is equal to turtle.pen, okay? So, whoops, turtle, okay? So t.turtle.pen, Okay, so my rocket launcher icon has now appeared. Let me go ahead and make some space for our thing. So this moves over here. Let's get this over here and minimize the size. Okay, so this works. Now the next thing I want to talk about is the color, right? So while filling up an object, it takes in two commands. The first is to specify which color you want to fill it up with, and that works on the basis of RGB. So what's the color for red, what's the color for green, and what's the color for blue? So since we're creating a blue car, let's go ahead and create a very simple blue hull or blue shape of the car. So the whole purpose of this lecture is to create a very simple car, okay? Not some Lamborghini or not some Ferrari, but a very simple box car, okay? The very primitive kind of car. So the way this is going to work is two black wheels and then one blue mainframe. So let's specify that we're now creating a blue car, and immediately, as soon as we do that, we now see that our arrow has now become blue, okay? So the next thing I want to do is begin fill. So t.begin fill, begin and underscore fill, okay? And now that we do that, it'll now fill up any object that we create. So thinking of a boxcar, how is that going to work? Well, let's say our base is 150. So t.forward 150. Okay. Then t.left 90. T.forward 30. T.left 90. T.forward, let's say 40. T.right 90. T.forward, let's do 40. T.left 90. T.forward, so if we did 40 there and 40 here, 80, 70. So 70. T.left 90. T.forward, what did we do? We did 40, I believe. Yes. T.right 90. T.forward 40. T.right or left 90. And then T.forward 30 to finish it off. Wow, so we've now created a very simple boxcar, and you can see how much work it took us. It's tedious, it's not fun, but this is just a quick example of how to create a boxcar, alright? So now to get that filling in, to make it colored, what you can do is you can now call t.endFill, okay? And all that does is it now, whatever object we've created, it'll be colored through and through. So very interesting concept. Now the next thing we want is to add our two wheels, okay? So I'm going to go ahead and call t.up. Then I'm going to move this, so t.right 90, okay? Or actually, I'm sorry, t.right 180. We want to face it the other way now, okay? And I'm going to move this a little forward. So let's say t.forward 40, okay? This is a good place to make our wheel. So we want to make our color back to black. So t.color 0, 0, 0. That's the signature for black. And now what we want to do, let's go ahead and make this down. And t.begin fill. So to create a circle, there's actually no need for any complex code. It's one line, and I'm actually pretty happy about this. It's called t.color and then the radius of your circle. So let's go ahead and do maybe 15. I'm sorry, not t.color, t.circle 15. And if you do that, it will now create a circle. However, it has created it in the wrong place. So what we can do now is, now we've learned where it's going to create it, let's do t.right 90. Okay, t.forward 15. T.forward 15. T.right or T.left 90. Okay, and now if you call the function circle again, t.circle 15. Oh, whoops. T.circle 15. we now get an awesome looking circle. So let's go ahead and end fill. So t dot end fill should be just like that. So think that this other circle is not there. Again, I'm sorry about that. I should have realized that the circle we created up top. However, we now have what looks like a very interesting looking wheel. All right. So let's do it this exact same thing for the other side. T dot up so that we don't get any of those random lines. T dot forward, move it, let's say, well, what would it be? So 40, 80, 70. So T dot forward 70. And now just go ahead and call that circle function. Oh, actually, before that, T dot begin fill to make sure that we actually get the color inside of the circle. T dot circle should be 15 again. And whoops, looks like we didn't put our pen down. So T dot down, T dot circle 15. And after some time, this typing actually gets quite tedious. So you're probably bored by now. But we'll be ending this turtle lecture soon enough. These will be one of the last actually. So T dot circle 15 creates a very interesting looking circle. And then let's go ahead and end fill. Alright, so it looks like our thing did not get colored. I'm not sure why, but let's go ahead and try this one last time. So there is a function called set heading, and put that as 0, and all that does is, well, take a look for yourself. So let's go ahead, do the begin fill function again. Then T dot down, it's already down, and then T dot circle as 15. Does that again. T dot end fill. Alright, now it's worked. So forget the set heading, it's not something we needed. I thought we might require that, but leave that for now. So we've created two cool looking circles. So I'm gonna go move that pointer up out of the way. T dot up, T dot forward 50. Alright. So this is a very interesting looking car. I mean, it's a nice blue body, a random black circle on it, and two wheels. So interesting enough, it doesn't look too bad. And we learned quite a lot in this lecture. So we learned that Turtle is a very tedious model. We've learned that it takes a lot of code to create a very simple object. And we've also learned about a few functions like begin fill, end fill, and our color function. Alright, so very cool, guys. Hopefully this is the last lecture in Turtles. I myself am not a huge fan of Turtle module because of how tedious it is, but I'm definitely sure there'll be 1 or 2 more lectures dealing with functions in the Turtle module and talking about some other interesting looking objects. Alright, so see you then. Alright, so the last few lectures we've learned quite a lot dealing with the Turtle module. We've learned how to first of all create some basic shapes. We learned about the forward, the left, the right. We then learned about the up and the down, how to fill in colors, how to choose a color, and how to reset the whole frame. Now the next thing I want to talk about today is functions. So just like we learned how to use loops with our Turtle code, I also want to show you guys how we can use functions as well. So it's going to be very interesting. Now the first function that we should create is a simple function that creates a square based on the number you provide. For example, if I pass in 50 into the function, I should get a square of side 50 in length and width. Okay, so let's go ahead and create it. First thing first, I need to import turtle. Then t is equal to turtle.pen. Alright, and as soon as I do that, my Python launcher comes, and again, just like the previous few lectures, I'll be minimizing this and bringing up my Python launcher. So here it is. Let me just put it side by side. There we go. And here. Awesome. So the next thing I want to do is create this function. So the way this function will work is just like any other function. We'll use the def key. Then let's call this a square function, for example. Square. And it takes in the parameter side. Okay. And all the side does is it tells us, hey, how big do we want our square to be? And all we're now going to say is for I in range, 0, 5, we want to say, oh my god, 0, 5, all we want to say is t dot forward. So t dot forward side and t dot left 90. Alright, So again, a very simple function, and let's go ahead and give it a try. So square 10. Let's do a small one. Fantastic. Let's go ahead, try another one. Square 20. Alright, let's do one more. Square 50. Alright, so this is a very cool function in which we just talked about how we can use, our function skills we learned a few sections ago into our Turtle module. So let's go ahead and create a circle one now. Again, it's going to be the exact same thing. We'll pass in the radius, except now what we can do is, actually, let's just do radius. Let's keep things simple. So for there's nothing to it. All we have to do is say t dot circle and then radius. Alright, so if I circle 10, okay, pretty cool. Circle 50 and circle 100. Very neat. So as you can see, we've now just basically touched base on functions with Turtle module. Again, it's a very broad subject. You can do tons and tons of things. So what I want you to do now is just play around with this whole Turtle module. Hopefully you've got the hang of it. Again, we won't be coming back to this Turtle module. It's just basically just to show you, hey, this exists. I want you guys to know. But after this, all our GUI, all our graphics will be done via the Tkinter module. So fantastic job. If you have any questions on any of the inbuilt modules we've discussed so far, what does asTime do? What is sys.exit? Or how does this Turtle module work? Why is it there? Stuff like that. Please don't hesitate to ask. I'll definitely reply to you. And other than that, I hope to see you in the next section, which will be about the Tkinter module. Hi there. In the previous lectures, we talked about the sys module, the time module, and the random module. In this lecture, we'll be talking about the re module. But before we get there, I want to show you a cool feature about strings and what we can do with them. So open up your IDLE, expand it, and type with me. So let's create a new string. String is equal to a random word, ubiquitous. And now let's say if we wanted the first 3 letters of the string, how would we do that? We'd say string, or let's print this, print string, and then in the square brackets, we're going to say 0, 3, 0:3. We got ubi. Now let me explain what we did here. So we did string. So we wrote the string name, and then in the square brackets, we did 0 to 3. All this means is start from the first letter, that is 0, and then take the first, the second, and the third letter. So 0, 1, 2. It does not include the third, which would be Q, but it'll take 0, 1, 2. If we said string 0 to 4, what will we get? Ubiq. If we said string 0 to 6, ubiqui. So this is how we can get part of a string by using a square bracket and specifying our range. Now let's say we wanted quitus and we didn't want the ubi. How would we do that? We'd say string 3, 0. String 3. So what this does is we say here that take all the letters except the beginning 3. So we don't want the first, the second, or the third, but after that take the rest. We could say something like string 3 to 5, QU. We could say string 1. That would be ubiquitous. So this is the main concept of getting part of a string. You can use these square brackets and specify our range. We'll be doing that in the next lecture. Alright, re module. Re basically stands for regular expression operations. So first, let's import re. Alright. Now, there's a lot of functions you can do with re. If you want to find out, just do dir re. Remember the function we did a few lectures ago? directory of re will give us all the different types of functions. So you can do a search function, a split function, you can do a compile function, a parse function, sys function, all sorts of functions. All right. In our app, we'll be using, in our stock app, we'll only be using a few of them. Let's get to it. The first one will be the search. We'll be using re.search. So the re.search takes in two parameters. The first parameter is what are we searching for? For example, let's first create a string. The night was cold and dark and there was no one there. All right, this is any sentence. Oh, whoops. String is equal to the night was cold and dark. Fine. Now, what we want to do is let's say we wanted to find out if there was NIG. We're searching for the term NIG. So we'd say re.search. What are we searching for? Let's just search for night. And then comma, what are we searching in? We'll be searching in string. Click enter. All right, match found, span 4,9, match night. That means there's a match. But we want to store this in a variable. So we'll say anything. I'm just going to call it M. M is equal to re.search night, comma, string. All right. Now let's print M. Let's see what we get. We get the same thing. But with this M, we can do stuff. We now know the placement for where night is. So let's say we wanted to get just this. What will we do? Let's create a new variable. Let's call this start. Start should be equal to m.start. Stay with me here. I'll explain everything. And we know that night is 5 characters long. So we'll say n is equal to m start plus 5. So if I print start, what do I get? I get 4. If I print n, what do I get? I get 9. Now what I can do is I can say string in brackets start to end. Awesome. Now let's explain what just happened. We had a string. Our string was the night was cold and dark. We used the re.search operator or the function to find if there's a night in our string. Now it's always good to use the search option if you know it's there. That's the whole point of it. So re.search night in string. We save that into a variable called m. Now when you print m, you will get this. But using the function m.start, you can save the value, the span value for m.start is equal to start. And you could have also done something like this. m.end. If you print m.end, let's print this. Print m.end. Click enter. 9. So basically, m is our variable that we got from re.search in the string while searching for night. And m.start and m.end correlate to the 4 and the 9. m.start correlates to where it is in the beginning, the first letter, the position of the first letter, and m.end correlates to the position of the last letter. I hope you got that. Let's go over one more example. Let's create another string. String 2 is equal to some random stuff, cheese, and some random stuff, cake, random stuff, pizza. Alright. Now, we want to search in this for cheese. So what do? It's quite simple. re.search, then in brackets, cheese. What are we searching in? String 2. That should be easy enough, right? It gives us the span 27 to 33. Now, if you want to get the span, what do? We do dot start and dot end. So first, let's save it into a variable. Let's just call it position is equal to re.search, then in brackets, cheese, comma, string 2. Awesome. Okay, whoops. All right. Click enter. Nice. Now we have position.start and position.end. There we go. So if we just want to get the cheese out of the string, all we have to do now is say string 2 in brackets position.start colon position position.end cheese. All right, I hope you're getting it now. We've gone through 2 examples. You should be getting the hang of it. First, we search, store it into a variable. Then we use the m.start and .end functions to get the beginning letter's position, the final letter's position, and then using what I taught you over here by putting a colon to getting part of a string out, we'll use the exact same function here and then get out cheese. Awesome. So this is mainly the whole concept of regular expressions. Now, there's a lot more to it, but for the next lecture, all we're going to need is this. In the next lecture, I plan to make a stock app, which when entered a stock, for example, FB, will return the stock value. See you in the next lecture. To use it, we learned its functions, and we also learned the re.search. In this video, we'll be talking about our stock program, how to code it, and how to crawl the web for data. Well, what are we waiting for? Let's get started. Open up your IDLE, expand. All right. We'll be using 2 modules in this program. The first one is the import re, and the second one will be the URL lib. But I won't be using the whole library. I'll just be importing URL lib dot request because that's the only function I want. Awesome. Now we have to first get a URL to parse data from, because without a URL there's no point. So let's go to our browser. Let's search Google Finance, and let's click it and search for a random stock. Awesome. Now I hope you noticed, but above you can see in the URL itself the stock name has appeared, and that's what we want because we can change that via our code. So let's delete this stuff, the stuff after the goog, delete that, and now let's try changing it. So let's make it FB. Awesome, that came up. Our URL. Let's go back to our code, and one thing I want to teach you here is how to add a comment in Python. Commenting is simple. All you do is you hit the sharp sign and then enter all the text you want. A comment in Python basically means text that will not be counted as code. It is just for general knowledge to understand what's happening or to load some data or anything, but it won't be counted as real code. Awesome. So we now have our URL. Let's create this thing. Let's create a variable. Start with the quotation mark, command V, end with the quotation mark. So this is our URL, https www.google.com finance question q equal. Now whatever stock name the user wants will come after the equal sign. So quick challenge, can you do that? And a hint here is to add 2 strings together, all you need is a plus sign. So the challenge is to create an input, get the user stock, and add it to the end of URL. Start. All right, let's do this. So let's first create an input. Stock is equal to input. And then in brackets, enter your stock. Awesome. Now enter your stock. Let's just go with FB for now. Great. Now what we have to do is make the stock go to the end of URL. So URL is equal to URL plus stock. This is known as concatenation of strings. So you can add 2 or more strings together by just using the plus sign. Great. So if we try printing out URL now, What do we get? https www.google.com finance question q equal to fp. Awesome. Now we're going to use our URL lib.request. So we want to store that link or our URL's data into a variable. So let's create a variable called data is equal to, now I'm going to write a bit of code and I'll explain it as soon as I'm done. URL lib.request .url lib open URL open, and then URL open. What URL do we want to open? It's going to be our URL .read. Awesome. So what we did here was we said data, our variable, is equal to URL lib module .request. It's going to send a request and opens up URL open our URL. What's our URL? Our URL was http Google Finance FB. So once it's opened, whatever data is in there, it's going to be read and it's going to be printed out. All right. Before we go further, the first thing we need to do is to decode the data. So upon calling a request, opening it and reading it, we got our data in bits and bytes. So create a new variable, data1 is equal to data.decode in brackets UTF-8. And this should be in quotation marks. All right. So all we did is we decoded our data using the UTF-8 parameter, and it converted those bits and bytes into words and normal strings. Now, if you had printed data, you would have seen a normal result, but it would have caused errors later on while doing our re-parsing. All right, so now let's search for our re.search function. So let's first find out what we're going to search for. Let's print data1. And we got this. So this is now much more easier to use. If we had printed out data, you must have seen that data is all clumped up together and it doesn't look nice. This is a much more visually pleasing way of printing out our data. So Command F and let's search the value of the stock. So wait, go to Chrome. Let's do this. Yeah, I'm gonna leave this page and I want to search for what is FB right now. FB stock 76.45. okay, so let's search 76.45. Find next until we find the one we're looking for. Here we go. Meta item prop is equal to price. Content is equal to 76.45. Great. So let's close this. Close. Now, we're going to be searching for this. Meta item prop is equal to price. In any Google Finance link, you will find this meta item prop equal to price, and underneath that, the value of the stock. So Command C this. Close this. Go to your IDLE. Scroll back down and do Command V. So that's what we're going to search for. So say M is equal to re.search. Just remember our research search function like we did last time. Now don't use double quotation marks in the beginning. Use single quotation marks because of the price. So single, close this. And now we're going to say comma. What are we going to search in? Data or data1? Data1, obviously. So let's just recap. M is equal to re.search. What are we searching for? Meta item prop is equal to price in data1. Click enter. Now if we print M, what do we get? Awesome. So we now know where the location is. 79549 to 79570. So let's create a starting variable. Start is equal to m.start. And let's make end 50. So end is equal to start plus 50. Great. So now we're going to use what we learned in the previous lecture. So data2, or let's just call this new string, is equal to data1, and then in square brackets, start colon end. Click enter. Awesome. Print new string. What do we get? Meta item prop price content is equal to 76.45. Great. Now what we have to do is get the content out. So content, i.e. 76.45. So we don't want the quotation marks, we don't want the content, we don't want any of this. So what we're going to do, let's create another search. M is equal to read.search. And what are we going to search for this time? It's going to be content equal to, and then double quotation mark. So we're going to be searching for this, the content equal to double quotation mark. And what are we searching in? We'll be searching in our new string. Awesome. So click enter. We got this. Now what we want to do is we want to take the end of this, i.e. the colon, and up till this. So first what we're going to do is get the end. So end is now going to be equal to, or the beginning, start should be equal to m.end. I hope you got that. Basically all we're doing is we want from here onwards. So m.end is equal to here, and the start should be that. So let's update our new string. New string 1 should be equal to start colon. Hit enter. Invalid syntax. Alright, that's because I forgot to put our data1 or our new string here. New string, and then in square brackets start colon. Great, let's print out new string 1. See what we get. We get 76.45, and then double quotation mark, space, and a slash. So all we want now is to get it up till 76.45 and then end. So it's quite simple. All we're going to do is do another read.search. M is equal to read.search. We'll be searching for search for the slash, because you never know, you might get some more stuff over here. So we're going to be searching for slash in this, and we'll be searching in what? New string 1. Great. So now what we want to do is we want to say start will be equal to 0. So we don't even need that, but that's fine. And end should be equal to m.end minus 2. So I hope you got what we did there. M.end will give us this, but what we want is minus 2. So we want up till here. So we'll get rid of the quotation mark, we'll get rid of the extra space, and we'll just have 76.45. So then we're just gonna say final is equal to, and then we'll be doing this with what? New string 1. And in the brackets, we're going to say 0 to end. Print final, and what do we get? 76.45. Okay, so it looks like the quotation mark didn't go away. So let's do end is equal to m.end minus 3. My bad. Final is now equal to, same thing, new string 1, 0 to end. Print final. There we go, 76.45. You have now successfully crawled your web, and you have created a running stock program. Congrats. Now to make this a little better, let's do print, and then in quotation marks, the value of, and then we're going to say plus stock, put a space over here, plus the value of FB. So remember in the beginning, our stock, the value of FB is, and then a space, plus final. So this is concatenation. We did this earlier above. So a string, then plus another string, etc. So print, the value of FB is this. Whoops, we missed a space. Let's get that space in there. Alright. The value of FB is 76.45. Great. This is a huge accomplishment. Amazing. We now have a running stock program that gives us the value of the stock back. Now, I have done this program in the shell, so doing this again and again might be tough. So let's quickly make file, new file. If you don't mind, I'm just going to quickly write it in here so that, you can copy off and you can save this file because this is a pretty huge accomplishment. So let's quickly start. Import import URL lib dot request. What did we do after that? We first had to create our URL. So all I'm going to do is I'm just going to go up and copy paste, because that's what I think is going to be the easiest right now. So, yep, that was a lot of data right there. So I'm going to minimize this. Whoops. Not minimize, but we have to make this less. Alright. So URL should be equal to HTTPS whack. So you can follow me. Just copy the code into this file. Awesome. So in just 5, 10, 15, 20 lines, you have created a running stock program. Great. I hope you learned a lot in this lecture. This was actually quite a detailed lecture and we learned a lot. So we learned about parsing through the web. We learned about getting a string out of a huge random jumble of information. And then we learned breaking down that string even further to get the value that we want. Now, a neat feature you could do here is we could say something like, we could create a for loop. So you could have an array of stocks is equal to, I don't know, it could have FB, Goog, Data, Baba, I don't know. You could have any amount of stocks that you want. And one more thing over here that we can do is stock.upper. If you remember what that function does, it makes the string's letters capitalized. So let's run this before I move on. So run module, source must be saved. Okay, let's save it. Let's call it stock quotes, save in documents, great. Invalid syntax 0 to end, right? Because we forgot the new string. New string 1, 0 to end. So run this, Python module, run module, save source, enter stock, FB. The value of FB is 76.45. Great. Now, as I was talking over here, we could have done array of stocks is equal to these four. And then as a simple challenge before I end this lecture, just do it so that a for loop is created, and every time that for loop runs, so we will do something like for I in array of stocks, then I want you to put the stock over here, so we won't be inputting anymore. It'll just be this name, we're using these stock names, and I want you to return the result. So quite easy, using these stocks, it should be a for loop running through each stock and returning its value. Alright, so we learned a lot in this lecture. See you then. Hi there. In this lecture, we will be creating a weather program, i.e., the user will enter a city and our program will return the weather of that place. Well, let's get started. Open up your IDLE. Let it load and expand it. So I won't be doing it in the shell anymore. So create a new file, untitled. We'll be doing it in here. Great. So let's start. So like we did in the stocks program, let's import and import URL.request. Great. So first thing first, we need a link. So Let's open up our Chrome or any browser that you have for that matter. Let's open it up. Let it load. All right. So here we have Chrome. So the website we're going to use today is called weatherforecast.com. So WATHER forecast.com. Just click it. Here we go. So in the title / locations / the city name. So right now I'm just going to do Seattle / well, actually, sure. So Seattle / forecasts / latest. Okay, sorry. So weatherforecast.com, my bad, that was a mistake here. So just copy this, locations / Dublin / forecasts / latest. So click that. Now, if you see in this website, as you might notice, they have given this Dublin 1 to 3 day weather forecast summary, light rain, blah, 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 mild temperatures, all this stuff. So this is what we want to collect. Now, as you might have noticed in the URL itself, this can change. So if I put Seattle in here, I'll get what I want. If I put maybe Paris in here, I'll get that city's weather. So just like in the stock app, we concatenated our stock to the end of the URL. In this case, we'll be adding it in the middle. So Command C this, and let's close this up. So let's quickly create a comment with this stuff. Great. Now we first want to create a URL. So first let's create our input. So city should be equal to input, enter your city, :space. Great. Now we want to say URL should be equal to this, but we want to remove Paris. So let's remove Paris, delete Paris, +, city, +, forecasts, latest. Great. So this is now our URL. All we did is we removed the city part, or the city part which was Paris, and we put our variable city. So it'll act as the same thing. Now what we want to do is we want to get the data. So if you remember in the stocks, all we did was data is equal to URL lib.request.URL open. Which URL are we opening? URL.read. Great. Now we have our data. We have to decode it. So it's UTF-8 like last time. Data1 is equal to data.decode and then UTF-8. Great. So now we've decoded our data. So I'm going to pause the video here and see if you can try it yourself. Remember, when you start writing code, you can always run it. So write one line, click run, save your stuff, click run, click run. It's always good to test. Because if you write all your code and then click run, you'll be confused and have to rewrite that code all over again. So after every line, try running it and see if it works. Great. So I'm going to stop the video here for now, for a few seconds, to see if you can create it yourself. If you can, great. If not, then just try. Alright, let's get started. So first thing first, let's print out our data1 to see what it is or what exactly is happening. So let's run this. Run module. It's going to prompt to save. Say, okay, let's save. I'm going to call this weather. You can call it whatever you want, but make sure you know what it's called. Great. So enter your city. I'm going to say Seattle. And we got all this. So we want to search for, let's try to find it. Something 1 to 3 day. Okay, wait. I'm just going to go to there and search. So weatherforecast.com/Seattle, and then this is what we want. So let's just copy this, moderate rain, whatnot, Command C, Command F, Command V, find next, whole word. So It's not finding it. Let's try to find it ourselves. All right. If you found it, good job. Let me try to find it. All right. Yeah, here it is. So try to find span class is equal to phrase. Actually, you know what? Let's actually do that. So Command F, if this works. Seems to be frozen, but yeah. If you notice, span class is equal to phrase and moderate rain has been highlighted. This is what we want. So moderate rain, heaviest on Thursday afternoon, very mild, something, 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 winds increasing, blah, 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 all the way up till here, Thursday night. Great. So if this works, it should. It's not working. All right, but we know what we want. Span class should be equal to phrase. So let's go back to our file. Weather. All right. So we'll be searching. Oh, we can close this now. Span class should be equal to phrase. So M is equal to re.search. We're going to be searching for span class equal to phrase. So make sure you use the single quotes and not the double quotes. I made that mistake. I'm fixing it right now. All right. So span class should be equal to phrase. Great. So let's do m.start should be equal to m.start and end should be equal to start plus I'm going to go with 100. Great. And let's make our new string. So new string is equal to it's going to be data1 and then in brackets start to end. All right, Command S and let's run this. So run module, enter city, Seattle, not moderate rain, just Seattle. It's gonna give me an error message. I know. Yeah. Okay, let's try that one more time. I'm not sure what happened, but something happened. Wait. So Command S, F5. It runs this. I'm gonna say Seattle. It says search missing one required positional argument string. So let's go back to see the error we've done, or I've done. You might have not have. Right. So we're missing the search in. Sorry, my bad. Re.search takes in two parameters. One is what we're searching for, and the second is what we're searching in. So we're searching in data1. Save that. Let's run this again. Enter city, Seattle. And we have, well, it printed data1 again, but, okay, wait, so let's actually remove the print data1 because I'm not able to understand anything. So let's run this one more time. Sorry about that. Enter city, Seattle. All right, it's not printing anything. So let's see what went wrong in our code. So we're saying start is equal to m.start, end should equal to start plus 100. We should actually make this start m.end because we don't want any of that. So m.end, data is equal to URL lib, URL open, read, data.decode, m is equal to read.search. We're not even printing it, duh. Sorry. Print new string, Command S, F5, there we go. Enter city, Seattle, and we have this. Moderate rain, total 13 mm, heaviest on Thursday afternoon, very mild, max 11, and it gets cut. So the first thing we need to do is make this longer, so start plus 200, and if you notice in the beginning, we got that small alligator sign. We can get rid of that by putting it in our phrase, so span class is equal to quotation mark phrase quotation mark and then the alligator sign. Command S this, F5, it runs, enter city Seattle, and we get this. Great. Moderate rain, total 13 mm, heaviest on Thursday afternoon, very mild, blah blah blah, increasing, blah blah blah. So it's still getting cut, I don't know, but just to verify, let's increase it by another 100 because for some cities it might be a lot of weather and that means more lines. So F5 this again, enter city, Seattle. Okay, So Thursday night was the end, and as you can see, now we've gone on to a completely different thing. So I think what we can search for now is this bracket. So if you see, okay, no, we have another instance of the brackets everywhere, so we can't search for that. Let's search for the span. So we'll do a mre.search on the span. Alright, we'll be searching for the span here. So open up your IDLE back. Let's get back to the weather. Alright, and now let's do this. So m is equal to re.search. We'll be searching for the span. So span. Alright, comma. What are we searching in? We're searching in new string. Great. Now we want to say that m.start. So start and actually end should be equal to m.start. But as you can see here, the start will get you here. We want to get rid of the dot and this. So what we're going to do is -2. So let's go back there and let's say m.start -2. And now let's do final is equal to, and then new string 0 to end. Great. Let's print final, see what we get. Awesome. Run this, F5, Seattle, whoops, enter. Moderate rain, total 13 mm, blah, 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 by Thursday night. Awesome. So now we've created 2 successful programs that parse the web. The first one was the stocks, and the second one is weather. Great. So I can now say that we've accomplished a lot. This is huge. Parsing the web is no small thing, and this is great. In the next few lectures, we'll move on with some more complex stuff. See you then. Hi there. This is a third part in our web scraping course. So we did the first, which was getting stocks. The second was weather, and now we'll be creating a definition. So the user will enter a word and we'll give its definition. It's quite simple and it's along the same lines. So open up your IDLE. Let it bounce. Alright, expand and click on File, New File. So we'll be doing all our coding in this. Cool. So let's import the modules that we've used before. Import re and import url lib.request. Great. So first of all, we need a URL, like always. From where are we going to get the definition? So open up your browser. I'm just going to use dictionary.com for now because that's the one I like the best and it gives us good results. So dictionaryreference.com/browse/ /browse, it's going to give us this. And if we search in this dictionary, let's say car. What does car mean? I have no clue. So we get this. Now we can delete the question mark, the S is equal to T, all that stuff. And we have this. So like our stock application, we'll be adding the input from the user to the end. So we can remove car and search anything we want. Let's search guillotine. Guillotine. There we go. So just like that, copy the URL. So from browse up till here, Command C. Let's create a new variable as URL is equal to, and then in this. Cool. All right. The next step we need to do is take input from the user. So we're going to say input or word is equal to input in brackets, enter your word. Simple. Do a space. All right. Now what we have to do, let's make our URL up to date. So URL is equal to URL plus word. Then let's get the data. So data is equal to URL lib dot request dot URL open, and then open our URL dot read. So I know I haven't explained much, but I hope we're getting the hang of it. In the first 2 lectures, we did quite a lot of this. So in the third one, I'm just going and telling you how it should be done. So now we have our data. we should now decode our data. So data1 is equal to data.decode. And what do we use? It's UTF-8. Great. So now what we can do, whoops. All right. Now what we have to do is we have to find out what we're going to be searching for. So let's print out our data. So print data1. Missed the bracket, sorry. All right. So Command S. Let's save this as definition. Great, save. And now let's run this. So run module. All right. Enter a word. I'm gonna go with gaudy. It's a random word. All right. Now we get this. So let's see if we can find out the definition. How big is this? Okay, this is pretty big. So instead what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to Chrome, search gaudy and brilliant or excessively showy. So let's search for this. Command C, Command F, Command V. And we found it. There we go. Meta name is equal to description, content equal to, and then we get the definition. Great. Now what we have to do is use our search and get it out. So let's do this. All right. So close this and let's remove this. So close. Oh, not close, sorry. Ideally, definition. There we go. So we'll be searching for meta name description equal to there. So let's just do that. M is equal to re.search, and then in brackets, what are we searching for? Meta name is equal to description, and let's use a single quotes again. My bad, I keep on forgetting that, but you should be able to fix me right now. Description, content equal to, and then we start. Great. So this is what we want to search for. Just this. And what are we searching in? We're going to be searching in data1. So now let's create a line. It'll be m.end should be equal to what? It should be equal to start. That's where we're going to start from. So start should be equal to, m.end, like always. And then our end should be equal to start plus 300. Let's start off big since we never know how long a definition may be. Now all we have to do is create new string is equal to, what is it equal to? It's equal to data1 and then in square brackets start to end. Let's print out new string to see what we get. New string. All right, Command S and run module F5. Enter a word. I'm just going to go with gaudy again. Brilliantly or excessively showy. All right. I'm not sure why it printed it on that same line, but let's take a look here. All right. So let's get rid of our print data1. We don't need that anymore. So remove this, Command S. Meta name is equal to description, content equal to this. Now, I'm pretty sure it's going to give us errors for this. So I'm going to use a slash here to remove the escape character, make it normal. Or I don't think we even need to use that. So Command S, let's try running it. F5. Enter a word, gaudy. None type has no attribute end. Start is equal to m.end. It has an error. So let's try fixing that. Let's go back over here. Meta name is equal to description again. Command C, Command F, Command V. Find next. All right. Content equal to. All right. So this should work. Let's try running this one last time. If not, then we'll have to troubleshoot. F5, gaudy definition. Brilliantly or excessively showy, gaudy plumage. See more. Awesome. So now we're getting the definition, and now then we're getting a lot more random stuff. So we want to end at the see more. So we don't even want to see the see more. We want to get rid of that. Alright, so let me just make sure it's running properly without that strange message coming up. So F5, enter your word, Gaudi. There we go, working perfectly. So let's go back to here. And now we're going to be using the re.search to get, so M is going to be equal to re.search. And then in brackets, we're going to be searching for the see more. So we don't want the see more to come. So see more dot in, we're going to be searching in new string. All right. And we want to do M is equal to re.search, see more, new string. So the starting -1. So we don't even want the extra space. So start should be equal to, or in this case, end should be equal to m.start -1. All right, and let's create a new string. New string. Oh, I'll just call this final, or definition is equal to new string in square brackets 0 to end. All right, Command S. Print definition, we forgot that line. All right, Command S, F5, does this work? Let's see. Gaudi. Gaudi definition, brilliantly or excessively showy, gaudy plumage. Amazing. So we've now created 3 great programs, applications, whatever you want to call it. But now we've created 3 programs that parse the web. The first one was stocks. We called the stock data. Second one was getting the weather. And the third one is definition. Awesome. Now let's make a few edits to our program. Number 1, let's get rid of the print new string. We don't need that. Number 2, let's try something here. So let's click F5. And I'm going to enter a random word. AST blah blah blah. Click enter and we get an error. So what we can do now is, if you remember in the previous lectures, we discussed about the try and except. So it was try and except. Basically, in the try part, you could enter your code. If it works, great. But if it doesn't work, then you can have an except part where we can say that an error showed up, please try again. So what we have to do is create a try. So just type try and then colon. Let's put all of this under try. Just hit tab, except for the try. Cool. And if all of this doesn't work, then we need an except case. Except will print, I'm sorry, your word is not in the dictionary. Great. Command S, F5, let's try this now. So I'm going to enter ASD, click enter. Oh wow, ASD is actually a word. So let's run this one more time. F5, enter your word. Let's do ASD, that can't be a word. So I'm sorry, your word is not in the dictionary. Great. So now we've also added a try and except case to our program. Awesome. Now we could have done this for each program, but I forgot to. You can if you want. There's nothing wrong in it. It's quite easy. Just tab your content, put a try, and then put an except case in case your content or in case your code doesn't work. Print, I'm sorry, the value entered doesn't work. Awesome. So we've now created 3 fully functional programs. The first stock, second was weather, and third is definition. Now we'll be moving on to some more fun and complex programming.